Headlights cut through rain like knives through smoke. The ocean wind shoved at her hair, damp and tangled, as the widow stepped barefoot into the middle of Highway 17. One hand trembled around a bottle of whiskey, the other around the folded letter she'd written for no one. Her car sat idling behind her, wipers ticking like a dying clock. Before we start the story, tell us, where in the world are you watching this from? And if you enjoy our stories, please consider subscribing to our channel. It'll help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers and keep sharing more inspiring content with you. She stared at the dark horizon, at the endless nothing, and whispered, "It's okay." But the lie broke in her throat. Her name was Hannah Quinn, 33, a ghost wearing her husband's jacket 2 years after he went down drunk on a construction site. The rain didn't care. The world didn't. She closed her eyes as the roar came, not thunder, not wind, a Harley. One light growing larger, closer. The rider slowed. The bike idled beside her, engine pulsing like a heartbeat. "Ma'am," the voice said, rough and human. "You don't want to do that." Hannah didn't turn at first. Her mascara bled into the rain, her knuckles white around the gun she'd pulled from the glove box. "You don't even know me," she said, voice flat, empty. The man swung off his Harley, black leather cut-patched hellsangels, South Coast charter. Rain hit his shoulders, slid down the edge of his jaw. "Don't need to," he said. "I can see you breathing, that's enough." She laughed once, bitter and small. "You gonna save me, biker?" He shrugged. "Nah, just ain't looking to watch someone die on my road." The gun shook in her hand. The rain hissed. His eyes didn't move. "Go ahead," he said softly, stepping closer. "If you think he'd want that." Hannah froze. He said it calm, like he already knew the story, the husband, the crash, the silence that came after. The barrel lowered. The tears came. She fell to her knees. The Harley's engine kept time with her sobs. The rider took off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. Heat still clung to it, diesel and rain, heavy with road dust and miles. "What's your name?" he asked. "Hannah," she muttered. "Hannah Quinn." "I'm Ryder," he said simply. "Ryder Cole." He crouched beside her, eyes level. "You got people?" "Ad," she said. "Now just bills and ghosts." He nodded once, slow. "Ghosts don't pay bills, but they'll take your life if you let 'em." She looked at him then, really looked. The lines around his eyes weren't from age, but from seeing too much. "You're one of them," she said. "The angels." "Yeah," he said, unbothered. "But right now, I'm just a man with dry matches and a truck stop 10 miles up." He helped her stand. She didn't resist. The gun lay forgotten in the mud, swallowed by rain. "You always stop for lost causes?" she asked quietly. "Only the ones that look back," he said. The ride to the old seaside motel was wordless. Hannah rode behind him, clutching his cut, her cheek pressed against cold leather. She didn't cry anymore. There were no tears left. When they pulled in, the flickering red vacancy sign painted their faces like blood. Ryder parked under the awning, engine ticking as it cooled. He handed her a towel, then a pack of cigarettes. "I don't smoke," she said. "Start tonight," he replied, lighting his own. In the mirror behind the counter, she saw her reflection, pale, hollow, eyes swollen. She didn't look like someone who had almost died. She looked like someone who'd already been buried. Ryder leaned on the desk. "You eat?" She shook her head. He slid a few bills toward the clerk. 2 coffees, 1 room. Hannah frowned. "You think you can fix me?" He looked at her, dead serious. "No, but maybe you ain't done being here yet." Inside the dim motel room, the air smelled like mildew and motor oil. Ryder sat in the corner chair, smoking in silence. Hannah perched on the edge of the bed, still wearing his jacket, staring at the wall. "He used to ride," she said suddenly. "Your husband?" Ryder asked. She nodded. "He crashed on Route 10. They said he was drunk, but he wasn't. I know he wasn't." Ryder said nothing. The clock ticked between them. Finally he exhaled. "Sometimes the road don't kill us all at once," he said. "It takes what we love first, so we think about joining 'em later." Her throat tightened. "So why didn't you?" His gaze lifted from the cigarette's ember to her eyes. "Because someone stopped for me once too." The silence that followed wasn't empty anymore. Outside, a lone bike rumbled past the motel, fading into the wet dark. Hannah whispered, "I didn't want to be saved." Ryder's answer was quiet. "Nobody ever does." The morning light was pale, hesitant, as if unsure it belonged in that room. Hannah woke with her hands clenched around the jacket still wrapped around her shoulders. The clock said 8:46 a.m. Ryder was gone. Only his coffee cup remained on the table, half full, a cigarette burned down to the filter beside it. For a moment panic gripped her chest, the kind that hits after you realize the stranger who stopped you from dying might have vanished without a word. Then she saw it, a note scratched on a motel pad. "Didn't run. Went for gas. Don't disappear." She sat up slowly, her hair tangled, her eyes swollen from crying. Outside, engines groaned, semis shifting gears on the main road. The world had the nerve to keep moving. She stared out the window, and for the first time since her husband's death, she didn't want it to stop. Ryder came back carrying 2 coffees and a grocery bag. "You stayed," he said simply. Hannah didn't answer. She didn't need to. The silence between them said everything. She'd wanted to die last night, and now she wasn't sure she could. They sat across from each other at the tiny motel table. A loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter, and 2 black coffees between them. "You don't talk much," Hannah said finally. Ryder chewed a mouthful of bread. "Talking's what gets people in trouble. You sound like a man who's been in plenty," he smirked. "You sound like a woman who's tired of pretending she ain't." Hannah stared at her hands. Her wedding ring still hung there, dull and thin from years of wear. "He was a good man," she whispered. "He just—" "Stop trying." Ryder took a slow sip of coffee. "That's how most of us die before we hit the grave." Her lip trembled. "You ever lose someone?" His jaw flexed. "Everyone I couldn't save." He didn't elaborate, and she didn't push. The radio in the next room crackled faintly with a morning news report. Wreck on Route 9, 2 riders injured, no fatalities. She saw his head tilt slightly, like a soldier hearing old orders in static. "You got somewhere to be?" she asked. "Always," he said. "But right now, this feels like where I'm supposed to be." The motel lot was mostly empty, except for Ryder's Harley and a rusted truck that hadn't moved in days. Hannah followed him outside as he checked his chain and wiped the mirrors clean. The cut he wore, black leather, sun-bleached edges, the hellsangels South Coast patch across the back, caught her eye. "You people," she started, then stopped. "You got a reputation." He looked over his shoulder. "We earn it. Violence, drugs, guns," she said flatly. "Also soup kitchens, funerals, and saving widows from dying on highways." She flinched, embarrassed. "You're not what I expected." "Good," he said. "Expectations get people killed." He sat on the curb, wiping rain from his gloves. "My dad was in the club before me. Died in a fire we started by accident, a fight gone wrong. Since then I don't light matches, unless it's to help someone see their way back out." Hannah stood quiet, the words heavy as gravel. "You think people can come back from anything?" He looked up at her, the reflection of the Harley's chrome catching his eyes. "Only if someone keeps the road lit long enough for them to find it." By noon, the sky turned clear, the kind of blue that hides the night before. Ryder handed her a helmet. "You said you never rode," he said. "I didn't," she replied. "I just watched him ride away." His brow softened. "Then today you watched the road instead." She climbed on behind him, hesitant, hands hovering before resting lightly against his sides. When the Harley growled to life, she felt the vibration through her bones, not loud, not frightening, but alive. They rode without direction, out past Briar Inlet, toward old marshland, where bridges crumbled and seagulls screamed over forgotten docks. The wind clawed at her hair, and for the first time she didn't resist. She let the road take what it wanted, her guilt, her fear, her endless mourning. They stopped by a marsh overlook, salt wind cutting through silence. "What's out there?" she asked. "Nothing," Ryder said. "That's what's good about it." She smiled faintly, tears drying in the wind. "Maybe I needed nothing for a while." He nodded, lighting a cigarette. "Sometimes nothing's the first step before everything." That night, as Hannah sat alone on the motel steps, the CB radio from Ryder's bike crackled to life. Static, then a voice rough as gravel. "South Coast Charter, we got a situation near Conway. 2 down, 1 missing. Need eyes." Ryder froze mid-step, cigarette halfway to his mouth. The switch in him was instant. Shoulders squared, expression gone hard. "You gotta go," she said quietly. "Yeah," he replied. "They're my people." "And what am I?" she asked before she could stop herself. He looked at her for a long time. "You're the reason I stop for strangers." Then he handed her his spare key, a small silver Harley keychain shaped like a wing. "Keep it. If you ever need help, if it ever gets dark again, you find any of us and show that. We'll know." The engines roared in the distance, others coming for him. Hannah stood there clutching the key, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Fear, but not for herself this time. She whispered, "Don't die tonight." Ryder smiled, brief and tired. "Already did once. This is the second life." Engines echoed like thunder rolling down the coast. Within minutes, a line of red tail-light streaks split the darkness. Hellsangels, South Coast Charter, moving as one. Ryder was in front, the road captain, his black cut snapping in the wind, Hannah's scent still clinging faintly to it. They rode hard, cutting through empty marsh highways toward Conway, where word said one of their brothers, Diesel, got jumped by rival street punks running fentanyl through the docks. Ryder's mind flicked back to Hannah, her eyes, raw and exhausted, her trembling voice saying she wanted to die. He'd seen that same emptiness in brothers who never came back from it. Some shot themselves, others just kept riding faster until the road took them. The pack reached the old mill yard. Silence, except for the faint hiss of cooling engines. Shadows moved inside the half-collapsed warehouse. Ryder raised his fist. "No sound," he growled. They dismounted, boots crunching glass and gravel. Somewhere inside, a muffled groan. Diesel was still alive, barely. Blood pooled beneath him, a tire iron lying nearby. "Trap," Ryder muttered. And then, from the rafters, movement. A gun clicked. The gunfire ripped the night apart. Sparks danced off metal beams as bullets tore through the warehouse. Ryder ducked behind an old forklift, heart pounding, the smell of cordite and oil thick in the air. "Cover left!" he yelled, voice echoing. The angels fanned out, disciplined chaos, brothers moving like muscle memory. Diesel crawled toward the shadow line, blood smearing the floor. Ryder vaulted forward, dragging him behind cover. A bullet grazed his arm, heat burning through denim. He didn't flinch. "Stay with me, brother," he hissed. 2 attackers broke from cover. Local punks, not gang material, just desperate kids chasing a payday. One screamed when a round caught his leg. The other ran. Within minutes, the warehouse went dead quiet. Only the drip of rain through the cracked roof remained. Diesel coughed, blood on his chin. They said you'd come," he rasped. Ryder gripped his hand. "Damn right I would." Outside, sirens wailed faintly. Time was up. "Patch him up." "We roll now," Ryder barked. As the pack thundered back into the dark, his vision blurred with pain, not just from the bullet, but from the thought of Hannah waiting, praying, maybe watching the sky for headlights that might never return. Back at the seaside motel, Hannah couldn't sleep. The sound of rain on the tin roof pulsed like a heartbeat she couldn't quiet. She sat cross-legged on the floor, Ryder's keychain in her palm, the small silver wing glinting every time lightning flashed outside. She hadn't prayed in years, not after her husband died. But that night she did, quietly, awkwardly, like a beginner learning a forgotten language. "God, or whoever's left," she whispered. "Don't let him die, too." Her phone buzzed once. An unknown number, no name. She hesitated, then answered. Static. Then a voice. "You the woman with the biker?" It was low, male, unfamiliar. "Who is this?" she asked. "A friend," the voice said. "You might want to know. He's bleeding pretty bad." The line cut. Her stomach twisted. Panic rose like floodwater. She grabbed her jacket, his jacket, and bolted out into the storm. The clerk shouted after her, but she didn't stop. She didn't even know where she was going, just that she couldn't sit there waiting for another ghost. Every mile Ryder rode that night, Hannah ran in her own storm, barefoot, rain-soaked, alive, for the first time in years. The angels rolled into the outskirts of Briar Inlet before dawn. Ryder's left arm was soaked in blood, his breath sharp with pain, but his focus didn't waver. Diesel was stable in the sidecar, patched and half-conscious. "Keep it clean, boys," Ryder ordered. "We don't bring heat home." They turned off onto a gravel path leading to a farmhouse, an old clubhouse safe-house used for decades. The bikes idled in the yard, engines ticking down, steam rising from chrome like sighs. Hannah stumbled out from the trees just as Ryder dismounted. For a moment neither spoke. She looked wild, rain in her hair, mud on her feet, eyes wide with disbelief. "You're bleeding," she gasped. "You shouldn't be here," he said, voice hoarse. "Neither should you," she snapped back. She stepped closer, pressing her hands to his arm to stop the bleeding. "You saved me, Ryder. You don't get to die now." He laughed softly, wincing. "You sound like one of us now." Behind them, the rest of the angels stood quiet, watching. They knew better than to interrupt a man whose fate just shifted. They sat on the farmhouse steps, the horizon bleeding pink and gold through thinning clouds. Ryder's wound was bandaged, Diesel sleeping inside. Hannah wrapped in a blanket, eyes fixed on the empty road beyond the tree line. "I thought dying was the only way to stop hurting," she said softly. "Turns out it was just another way to run." Ryder's jaw tightened. "Pain don't go away," he said. "You just find someone who helps carry it for a while." She turned to him, studying the scars on his knuckles, the faint tattoo ink half-faded on his wrist, a name scratched out. "Who carried yours?" He stared at the rising sun. "A girl once. She believed in me before I did. I let her down." Hannah's hand trembled before she rested it on his. "Then don't let me down now." He met her gaze. For the first time in years, there was no fear in her eyes, only life flickering back through the cracks. He nodded once, voice low. "Guess neither of us was done yet." The Harley engines rumbled in the yard. The day had started again, and for both of them, maybe so, had hope. The day after, the farmhouse yard smelled of oil, coffee, and blood drying on metal. The brothers cleaned their bikes in silence, faces drawn, eyes hollow from the night's fight. Hannah watched from the porch, still wrapped in Ryder's jacket. Every rumble of an engine made her heart flinch. She wasn't one of them, not yet, but none told her to leave. Outlaws didn't talk about gratitude. They showed it by not turning you away. Ryder limped from the barn, fresh gauze peeking under his sleeve. "You should get back to town," he said. "You don't owe me this mess." She shook her head. "If I leave now, I'll go back to that bridge." He studied her a long beat, then nodded. "Then stay till you can stand without shaking." Hannah helped Diesel's old lady hang laundry between fence posts, sheets flapping like surrender flags. The world was still sharp, painful, but for the first time it felt real again. Out there, asphalt still burned, But here, under the hum of idling Harleys, she could breathe. Inside the farmhouse, a single wall carried the weight of every loss. Polaroids, patches, and dog tags nailed to the wood. "Brother's gone down," Diesel said quietly. "We don't bury names. We ride with them." Hannah traced one photo with her finger, a younger rider, smiling beside a woman with wind-tangled hair. The caption in black marker read, "Mara and Rider 03. He said he let her down," Hannah whispered. Diesel nodded. "She OD'd while he was inside for someone else's fight. He's been riding penance ever since." Outside, thunder rolled distant, low and slow. Hannah's chest tightened. Maybe that was why he had stopped for her. Not out of pity, but because he recognized the same emptiness looking back. She folded her arms, staring at her reflection in the window glass. Ryder stepped in, catching her gaze in the dim light. "You been talking about me?" he asked softly. She turned. "No," she said. "Just learning the kind of man who saves strangers." He smiled faintly, something heavy easing in his eyes. "Then you already know too much." 2 days later, Ryder's arm had healed enough to ride again. He kicked his Harley awake, the engine's growl echoing across the pines. "Come with me," he said. "There's something you need to see." Hannah climbed on behind him. They rode out before dawn, following back roads slick with dew. The wind stung her face, but she didn't flinch. She held on tight, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat through leather. They stopped on a bridge over the Conway River. Rusted railings, graffiti, the faint smell of salt and steel. "This where they found your husband," Ryder said quietly. She nodded, jaw tight. "You didn't bring me here to hurt me." "No," he said. "To show you you're stronger than the place that broke you." She stepped to the railing, staring down at the water. It wasn't angry like she remembered. It was calm. Still, she whispered, "I hated him for leaving me. Maybe he hated himself first," Ryder said. "But you're still here. That's the proof you won." She turned, tears running clean. "You think that's winning?" He nodded once. "It's the only kind that counts." That evening rain returned, light this time, almost gentle. The angels were gathered by the bikes, tuning chains and cleaning barrels, laughing low. Hannah sat beside Ryder under the overhang, watching the drops bead on the chrome tanks. "Funny," she murmured. "I wanted to die to stop feeling pain. Now all I feel is everything." "That's living," he said. She reached into his cut pocket, pulled out his cigarette pack, and lit one herself. The first drag burned, made her cough, then laugh. "You look alive again," he said, a rare softness in his tone. She exhaled smoke through a shaky smile. "Maybe I am." For a while they said nothing. The world seemed smaller. Just rain, the steady hum of engines, and the heartbeat of people too stubborn to quit. Ryder finally spoke. "You said last night you didn't want saving." She nodded. He leaned forward, elbows on knees. "Maybe I didn't save you. Maybe you reminded me what saving looks like." Hannah's throat tightened. Then we both walked off that bridge. The next morning, Briar Inlet was washed clean. The air smelled of salt and diesel. Ryder tightened his gloves, ready to ride north with his brothers. Hannah stood by the fence, his keychain hanging around her neck now, the small wing catching the light. "You leaving for good?" she asked. He smiled, starting the Harley. "No such thing as for good, just different roads." She nodded. "Then maybe I'll find mine." He met her gaze. "You already did." The angels rolled out, a thunder of engines fading into the marsh wind. Hannah stood there long after they disappeared, her hand gripping the wing charm. For the first time in years, she wasn't afraid of silence. She was part of it. Later that night, she wrote a single line in her old notebook: "He didn't stop me from dying. He reminded me to live." The camera would linger on her face, the distant roar of bikes returning like an echo of promise. If this story hit your heart, if you felt the road, the rain, the redemption, stay with us. Subscribe, like, and ring the bell for more real biker stories where broken people still find the light.